Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths, Let's Build! But there's a few things to note immediately. Firstly, and you'll see how this makes sense and how it relates to the village. To the village? To the village people! To the video later, I should have gone for pure kinetic shells. The second thing is that you might have noticed that, or not, like, you may or may not have noticed, it feels like a long time for me, for you, probably, maybe not. There's been a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a lack of content recently. I slightly burned out. Just a little bit. Like, not just because I was overdoing From the Depths, but because of other things. Multiple things. Busy helping out my family with stuff. Don't worry, nothing serious. I was trying out, like, the medication I was trying out for, like, anxiety. Rather, like, you know, to counter anxiety. Too many side effects. And that's bad, so I'm having to adjust my life around that. So basically, yada yada yada, real life always gets in the way of video games, damn it. So, what we're doing today, getting back to the actual FTD, is we're continuing working on the giant plasma canoe, but it's of course not going to be a pure plasma canoe, because that's silly. That doesn't work very well. Plasma on its own, well, it's a specialized weapon system. It's basically anti-heavy armor brick, and then for basically anything else, you want other stuff. So what we're doing here is having secondary, I guess you could call them secondary. They're a little bit big to be considered secondary APS, but that's what they are. It's advanced cannons, pulling double duty as damage dealers and CIWS, because I love doing that. It's weirdly resource efficient. It means that you've got something that can, depending on the situation, shoot the enemy, and also shoot things which are not the enemy, or shoot the things that the enemy is shooting at you. And I'm continuing my experimentation with this kind of very, very flat turret cap, which is, like, I don't know, somewhat exposed, I guess, but also, I don't know, this turret type is more aesthetic than anything else. Yeah, and people pointed out in the first episode of this that, yeah, heat shells coming from above are going to be a real problem for this. And basically, I'm just gambling that you don't usually get heat shells coming, you know, straight down on top of the turret cap. Because if the thing's shooting at you from the side, because this is going to be a broadsider, generally, heat shells are pretty fast and they don't arc down. Against airships, that's a different story. But yeah, hopefully that won't be too big an issue. Like, I don't know, it generally isn't, but we'll see. And I might have to completely change the turret caps for that. So, the plan here is, what I end up with, not to spoil the whole damn video, but I end up with like 50mm APHE at a triple-barreled APS, and this is the point where we kind of just hop over onto our turret testing fortress. I've actually made a new one of these, actually, because the old one will, like, I don't know, it was feeling kind of old. And, so yeah, like, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're gonna be sciencing that, and we've got, already our little prefab in there. Like, I do use prefabs a lot, simply because I really like using them. And also, I should mention, I believe we skip out on the ejectors, which I think is a mistake. I might have to dedicate the next episode to, like, finagling something out here, or just switching it to pure kinetic, which will be a lot easier, because I'm very much used to using ejectors now. But one thing is that, like, ejectors take up actually a fair amount of space, which is probably why people avoid using them for, you know, a fair amount. I was surprised. Just like in YouTube comments and in Twitch chat and stuff like that, people don't use them and saying, like, I can't figure out how to use them. And it's like, well, it's like it's something you kind of gotta just, I don't know, you just kind of gotta get used to it, I suppose. Because, yeah, once you start using them, and once you see just how much they can save your bacon, specifically your advanced cannon bacon, like, you can never go back, really. And that was me just doing some math right there. Wow, it's much fun. Like, I seem much better at math when you speed up the footage ×2. But anyway, so we've got a triple-barreled gun here. Possibly excessive, but I don't know, I just like multiple firing pieces. It's nice and redundant, and also it looks cool, so there you go. And so we got all this, and this is where I kind of, I don't know if this is stroke of genius or whatever, I just wanted to have a lot of loaders in there. So these are not belt-fed loaders, these are just regular auto loaders for a consistent rate of fire, and possibly I should have gone for belt loaders because, well, then the whole ejector thing is a moot point, because you can't use ejectors with belt loaders. Not sure why that is. It might be just a balance thing, because it doesn't actually make sense, I guess, for, like, you know, something that's belt-fed to be able to eject all the shells that are in it. I know not. But yeah, right now we've got the fun process of just manually thinking like, alright, so if you want even close to a similar rate of fire for the triple guns, you need roughly the same amount of essentially cooler/ejector columns for each one, and I've kind of done myself a mischief in here by prefabbing the autoloaders and then flipping them and sticking them on top, because now it's harder to see what I'm freaking doing. Doesn't turn out to be that much of a problem later because, well, you know, you just go in there and you stick ejectors in and, you know, Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt. Fanny is a perfectly respectable name. Do not let people tell you otherwise. I can't even say that with a straight face. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is Masterwork APS Tetris. It does have 3-clip Tetris, which is very, very good. For the record, 4-clip Tetris is technically better, but 3-clip, like, I tried doing 4-clip Tetris for the first time in a long time the other day, and I was just like, oh, like, within seconds I was like, oh, bugger this, this feels bad. It feels bad. It's one of those from the depths things that, like, yes, it's far more optimized. It's like, if you do the math, supposedly, like, you know, it's just better material-wise to have 4 clips on each loader instead of just 3, but also it is a giant pain in the butt, and it's messy and time-consuming, and I like, ain't nobody got time for that. Well, I guess some people have time for that, but I don't, so I'm gonna reserve the 4-connection Tetris for when, like, I'm really min-maxing something, like, really, like, if I ever, like, participate in a tournament again, because, like, goodness knows, that's the point where you really need material efficiency, because it can mean the difference between, oh, I don't know, having 2 APS cannons, or 3 on your ship, whether you, like, you know, really min-max the Tetris or something like that. Don't, like, quote me on that, but yeah, like, if you're gonna be entering tournaments or anything like that, like, yeah, that's when you really need to bring your A game, because your competition is pretty fierce, because if you, like, say, test your designs against only campaign craft, whether it be from Neater, whether it be from Ashes or Glau, or even a custom campaign like Finest Hour or the Caravonian Rebellion, campaign craft pretty much always have a strict rule set to follow in order to make the campaign actually fun and accessible. And, of course, not every custom campaign has rules like that, but, like, it's safe to say that, like, a lot of them do, most of them do, perhaps. And against a Steam Workshop craft, like, the actual, I guess, optimization of them varies tremendously, and you can't always tell at a glance. Like, if you just go, what's on top of the workshop, it could be because it's, like, an incredibly formidable design, or it could be just that it looks pretty, or it's, you know, a great replica of a real-world craft and stuff like that. So, do bear in mind, it's like, I guess the ultimate test of, like, your skill in From the Depths is, like, you know, can you make tournament-winning designs? Because then you really are up against people who are pulling their A game, so to speak. And, by the way, never won a tournament. I've entered a tournament once, didn't do very well, because this was, like, ages ago, and for some stupid reason I was trying to be cute, I was trying to experiment. Don't do that. If you're serious about winning a tournament, you need to stick to things that you know work, and if you don't do that, well, you are going to find out the hard way whether it actually works or not. My design actually... I don't know, I guess one problem with the design I submitted, this is, by the way, it's, I forget which is it, this is one of Menti's tournaments, Battleship Brawl and I forget which season it was. My entry was called the Harlequin Jaeger, so that's Harlequin spelled as you can imagine, and Jaeger spelled J-A-E-G-E-R. I think that's how you spell Jaeger. I hope so. And yeah, it got eliminated, I think, fairly early on. It won one, maybe 2 fights perhaps, and then got clobbered. So yeah, there you go. That was so sad. So yeah, lesson learned. That was very helpful though. You learn a lot by entering stuff into tournaments, even if you don't win. I learned the hard way. Is like, you know, don't stick your freaking APS on the back and use ejectors, for crying out loud. See, it's back to ejectors. Also, you might be wondering what I'm doing here sticking slopes in here. Well, to make this thing slightly less vulnerable to... I think I did this with the plasma cannon. I don't remember. It's actually been a while since I recorded that. I think I did that. So anyway, it's just some slopes in there, a little filled air gap to hopefully make heat and hash less of a problem for this thing. And just surrounding the actual important parts of this with heavy armor. And I forgot to put shield projectors on this turret, just like with the first one, because I never freaking remember. Although, like, it has to be said that, you know, shield projectors are one of those things that's, like, it's one of the things you probably should add last, just, like, you know, to be sure that you have enough engine power for the whole thing. Because the whole point of shields these days is that they are optional, or at least they should be optional. And what are you doing? What are you doing? And now we've got our flat turret right there. Dumpty Dumpty Doo. And then we've got that. And we're gonna be now mucking around a lot with just settings. So, what are we doing? What are you doing? Really, I should have made this like a super cavitation, just Saber or something like that. That would have worked. That would have worked fine, but did I do that? No. No. I decided to be cute. I wanted to make it APAG. By the way, AP Frag would have been absolutely brilliant for this gun, except fragments cannot damage projectiles. I've tried that, and it just kind of doesn't work. Which is a shame, but I don't know. Presumably there's reasons for that. Perhaps it's just a performance thing, and it would just be a problem. You can see here, I'm putting the mimics in ahead of time. The deco ahead of time, and you know what would be really smart BorderWise is if you covered those mantlets better. Nope, but we're decoing them. I just like putting rubber on the barrels. It's rubber for protection. Except it's just decoration, so it protects nothing, which is very, very sad. Except not really. Can you imagine if you could stack blocks like that? That would be terrible. I just like how it looks. It's like a kind of a thermal sleeve, I guess. That's what it looks like. I forget what a thermal sleeve actually is. Hang on, let me look that up. I want to... Just out of curiosity, while we're hanging around here, and while past BorderWise is faffing around with deco, let's look up what a thermal sleeve actually is. If I Google that, what will I get? Will I get winter wear? Thermal sleeve. Well, immediately thermal sleeve for arms. Ooh, nope, Wikipedia's got my back. A thermal sleeve, or blanket, is a device around the length of a gun barrel of a large caliber gun, typically found on modern tanks. Its primary purpose is to provide a more consistent temperature to the gun barrel, preventing distortions due to thermal expansion caused by the temperature differences around the barrel when firing. So yeah, okay, yep, thermal sleeve. We use rubber for that, I guess. And, I do like this gun. Like, you know, it's not perfect yet, like I say. And also, I'm really, I don't know, like, whether it's just, you know, a side effect of my permanent Canoe addiction, but I freaking love wedges, man. Wedges are one of my favorite things, just that kind of sleek look. I'm just very fond of it. And I believe, I hope I checked, what is the, like, correct health for these blocks, because you don't want to use the wrong blocks, so to speak. And yeah, so this is I like this. I like this kind of design. It just goes brrrr, just making sure that it brrrrs just you know, the way it's supposed to. And it aims for hot blocks because that's, unless it's like, you know, for cram cannons or something, like aiming for hot blocks for anything that fires at a decent rate and has decent muzzle velocity, it's so much better. It's just so much better because it means you go straight for the freaking engines. And we're gonna do that just for style points because why not? And hashtag. I like doing this these days. I like putting the camo on just while I'm testing it, just so I get a sense for how it, you know, for how it looks. And we got that digital camo, and then we're just gonna test the CIWS part of it. I believe flak is what I started off with, and you might think like mixing AP and flak is a stupid idea, and you're correct. That is a good general purpose CIWS though. Except in this case, it's like, you know, it's not worth it. The amount invested into this gun is just kind of not worth it, so... Really should have just, like I said, you know, should just drop the chemical warheads altogether, because no ejectors on this gun, it'll go kablooey. So this is... So now what we're trying to say... Alright, so one of them can't deal with a palisade volley, but how about two of them? Can two of them do it? Also, I forgot to talk about the metal pole deco down the middle there. I just like how that looks. It does make beautiful block confetti, I do have to say. And we're going... Boom, 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 boom. And yes, we are... I forget whether this is the one that can deal with an entire palisade volley. The palisade... Okay, yes, it can. Excellent. Like, yeah, the palisade is a decent... I guess test target for testing CIWS, simply because it just spams large missiles at you, which is pretty groovy. And this is where we see how well it does against crams. The Eerie is always fun to kind of test against. As you can see, these are not quite managing it. And I feel for something this big with, like, triple barrels, they should be able to do a lot better than this, so... Yeah, we're gonna have to tweak this a little bit. This is the problem with trying stuff. Sometimes you end up accidentally going back to things you've already tried. You're just like, oh, whoops. Whoopsie daisy. Whoopsie daisy, you done it again. So, beautiful, beautiful. I don't remember at what point I started including this kind of weapons testing in the actual Let's Build. But I feel like it's worth including, because then you can see what the testing process is, because that's important. You gotta test stuff to know if it works. And remember, pretty much every build is like a little bit different every time. Or at least it should be, because you should try stuff. Just try a little bit of stuff every so often. And boop boop. And this is the problem sometimes with setting up your CIWS, is just sometimes like you need to really prioritize, like, alright, do you want it shooting at the big stuff all the time, or do you want it shooting at the stuff that's close? Because, I don't know, depending on what you're planning to go up against, that could mean the difference between taking a bit of light damage and taking some real heavy damage. It is nice that those huge missiles on the stronghold just get deleted straight up. And, just so everyone knows that this ship, this big plasma canoe, it's going to have lambs and all that jazz, and oh dear, we can't even deal with an entire crossbones volley. That's a bit of an issue. You might be wondering why I'm testing so much, is because pretty much all of these things we're testing against here have different... It's kind of different setups for their crams and or missiles and stuff like that, so it's like, you know what, this is not doing enough damage. So if I switch that to HE now... And this is the point where, like, you know, yeah, nah. Like, the timed fuse is kind of, like, pointless with only 3-meter radius for explosions. However, HE does do a fair amount more damage than flak, because it just has better armor piercing. And it also does better damage to projectiles, particularly if it's a stacked warhead like that, so that's pretty good. So yeah, you can see there, like, it's making a hell of a mess. It means that the actual kinetic damage can tear straight through armored blocks, and then the HE just makes a mess of other stuff. So this feels like an improvement, so let's try the palisade again. And immediately you can see the difference there is like that front turret immediately got exploded. You can see there, kablooey, 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 kablooey. Doing much more damage, much more quickly, thanks to HE being, well, that's kind of a problem with Flak, is that it doesn't do great against armor, except that pretty much all projectiles have at least 20 armor, so it's like, Flak, weirdly enough, is really only very good against, well, against, you know, at very high gauges, so using it at a small gauge is like, I don't know, it feels just more like a, feels like an aesthetic choice more than anything else, because it makes a nice little poof. Nice little poof sound. Poof sound? So that's me just testing to see how badly this thing explodes, and thankfully, you know, it doesn't take out the rest of the ship it's on, which is, at this point, I was happy with that, but, like, you know, gonna have to go back and think about really, like, whether that's what we want for this whole build, because it's better if it doesn't explode at all. And as you can see, still can't deal with a stronghold volley. And the stronghold does have a pretty formidable first volley. So yeah, that is an issue. And those got through, not good, not good. I don't think this Plasma Canoe, it might be in the same weight class as the stronghold, or maybe not. And got distracted by the huge missiles, that's a problem. So might have to redo these altogether. Let me know if you reckon I should redo these with actual ejectors and all that stuff. Because also, missile interceptors are something... Oh yeah, not to spoil anything, but there's going to be some serious missile interception on this, because there's things I want to try. There's things I want to try with this. Because remember, pretty much every build is a learning experience, especially if it's a failure. You learn what doesn't work. So now we have the fun task of going here, and we're just going to, well, we're going to apparently just flesh all this out first, just to make sure. Just to make sure. And it is interesting, like, I'm still using the heavy armor wedges, even though Plasma's very much in the game now. Because it still works very well against, like, I don't know, pretty much everything else. Like, it still works great against APS, it's okay against crams, and just has the health and armor to deal with, like, missiles and other stuff like that. So it's like, wedges aren't bad, I think, at this point, but it's just they're not quite as ridiculously good as they used to be, simply because Plasma is a factor now. And what are you gonna do now, BorderWise? What are you gonna do, apart from putting what wooden blocks hither and thither in weird places? What you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Tell me your secrets. Okay, alright, that's what I'm doing, I'm prefabbing. This is one of the benefits of building your craft to be very similar fore and aft, so... and that's me going back and thinking, like, hang on a minute, yeah, I need to do that. I absolutely need to do that. Except I can't prefab that a bit because that'll be messy. So instead, we're gonna go over here. What are you doing? Alright, so you're doing that now. Jolly good, jolly good, jolly good. There we go, now we've got some big turrets, and this immediately changes the look of the thing. Because these turrets are all about the same size, really. It's just the plasma gun is, it's just, well, it's bigger. It's a lot bigger. That's the main difference. And now, yes, we're going with helium pumps, because this damn thing has floaty problems. As a lot of my designs tend to do. I seem to be having more and more trouble every time. Because I just like, you know, my building style lends itself very well to stuff that's low slung in the water, which has very real benefits, but also serious downsides. As people who have tested against the Titan slung, or I guess older stuff as well, like the Stull slung, will tell you, being low in the water means that things are more likely to whiff over the top of you, but it also means sinking. Also, high waves are a problem. And we're probably going to have to fill the bow and stern of this thing with something fun and interesting. I'm not sure what yet. It'll probably be something fun and cool. So now we can get to the ammo compartment. And this thing's gonna require a fair amount of ammo. And yes, more heavy armor. So this is the point where I'm thinking like, oh, damn it, not again. I always do this. I always think like, alright, we're gonna build the hull. And so long as it's barely out of the water, it's okay. But like, don't forget now that you're gonna be adding a lot of other stuff to it. And I added a supercavitation base, apparently, so... Did I have that before? I don't remember. This is one of the problems with doing things like this. I should really swap that out for Sabo. Because it turns out, I'm not sure what happens. I kind of mess with this more, or I have to mess with this a little bit more. As we go, I'm just... Hang on. There's something weird about the turret gaps I just noticed. What's happening there? Oh, that's what's happening. What the heck? That's not what I want. Are you gonna deco that, or what are you gonna do past BorderWise? I just realized that like the mantlets are kind of visible in a funny way, which is I'm not a fan of. Not a fan of that. I think I did accidentally just make a different shell here. Huh. Or just like in changing the shell before, I didn't realize that it also changed the firing rate, because... What did I do? I think I just... Yeah, removing a fuse. Oh, no, I remember what happened now. Like, this happens sometimes. Like, I think the coolers are connected in a way... Well, they're connecting to each other, and that's no bueno, and I have to go back and fix, and to anyone... Well, I've already fixed it, kind of. To anyone who spotted that earlier, well done, and apologies for driving you nuts. Actually, if you manage to spot that, even with the footage sped up ×2, you get a shiny cookie. Or a medal. I recommend the cookie, they taste better. You ever tried to eat a medal? Medals tend to be made of metal, which is less than tasty. And now I freaking want a cookie. Now I want a cookie. Now I'm the cookie monster! C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. I don't even eat cookies regularly. My sister actually found some really damn good cookies the other day, and yeah, it's like curses. Damn my lack of a sweet tooth. Which took me years to cultivate, by the way. Like, in the society we live in, where delicious sugary crap is readily available, oh, you gotta be careful of the sugar. You gotta be careful of the sugar. And now we'll reach the point in the Let's Build where I'm just talking about random stuff. So, just as well we're doing stuff like that. And just looking here. Also, well, thank goodness for one thing that I realized that this boiler wasn't set up correctly. But also, I tested off camera whether, like, you know, two of those, basically whether this amount of steam engine would be enough for the plasma gun. And thankfully, it is. So, phew! There's a lucky break right there. However, what are you doing? I think I jam in an extra one just to be careful. Yes, there we go. So now we got an extra one just to be safe, a little bit extra, so that when rather than if we just get a huge railgun round going through the middle of that, it's not immediate game over. It's just mostly game over. Although, given how expensive plasma is, I guess the same cost of railgun would probably ruffle stomp this thing. So, we're having to be... I was about to say we're having to be cost-saving in other areas of this craft, but given my plans for it, yeah, no, this is going to be quite an expensive beast. Unfortunately. Attila will be cross with me because it's unfortunate how expensive this craft is. I forget how expensive it currently is. I could easily go back and check that, but I'm not going to because I'm feeling lazy. I'm full of holes from grabbing roses. Yeah, that's the family thing I mentioned before. My parents desired help with the garden, and I answered the call, and we got to take revenge on the rose bushes that I've hated for years. If you watching ever have a garden, don't stick roses in it, not if you love your gardener. which might be you. You might be your gardener. So basically, love yourself, don't have roses. That's what I'm saying. So we got pew pew pew, and brrr. We got pew, we got brrt. That's me eyeballing that, and now we're gonna have a little bit of fun. I just spat on my monitor. Ew. And this is me just quickly target hot blocks and target blocks above water. And for now, the APS and the plasma are all set to the same AI. I'm probably going to change that. And this is just me checking to see how well all the weapons work together. The answer is pretty damn good. They're making a mess of this Eerie, which is already quite cheaper than this. And here's one of the problems, is that because of those heavy armor wedge barrel guards, the thing kind of lists towards the target, which is actually preferable than the other way around. Yeah, and then, yeah, Eerie is put down in the drink in no time flat, because, well, we've got 2 honking big APS guns and a big-ass plasma gun, so, yeah, there you have it. Big Plasma Canoe is coming along nicely. Probably going to swap out the shells on the APS for pure kinetic, because it just makes sense. And, on that note, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon. Or a YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Let's build more Plasma Canoe fun and games. Farewell!